YOLO, mofos. Wouldn't be what it was like. What's going on? I hope you guys are happy and everybody's like, chilling. What's going on, sunshine? Harry Scott. And by the way, speaking of which, this episode of 420 TV is brought to you by Abdullah Aziz, I believe, and also Perry Scott. Thank you for the timely donation. Anyway, so what's going on? I got all kinds of cool tidbits of stoner news for you, or at least it's the stuff that this stoner paid attention to anyway. And some of it's kind of old. You've probably been tripping on it yourself. What's going on? Rainbow food rocks. Let's get into the news over here. Look at that. Would you just look at it? Anyway, let's check this out. Black Lives Matter co-founder buys $1.4 million home in an area with just 1.6% black population. I'm going to go out on a limb here and, go past the irony of the headline there and think, she probably just moved someplace that's rich. Guess what? I bet they also have about probably 1.6 population of people like me that think for themselves. I don't know. I'm just saying. But I bet she wouldn't move in my neighborhood, and there's not, very many black people here. So I bet there's other contributing factors for people with millions of dollars to buy homes on why they don't go to certain neighborhoods. But it is, ironic because, well, I think you know why. Good night, Prince Philip. I'm sure everybody saw this. What a weird thing. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he died on the 99th day of the year on the 9th. I'm going to have to check on the 99 things because I saw a thing somebody posted about it. But the weirdest part, forget all of those other things if those gematrias don't line up. This is the asshat. You remember that said he wanted to come back as a virus and killed 99% of the population because, well, he's a Nazi. I know you're not supposed to say that because he's part of the royal family, but you remember him and his brother, they were Nazis. Yeah, you remember. Anyway, is it if this is the one I think it is here. Let me make sure it is. No, that's the wrong one. There was one with a bunch of gaffes from this guy, man, and talk about a racist guy. He's a racist guy. He's a hardcore racist, but, because he's part of the royal family, the mainstream news media and all of them continue to kiss his ass. Basically, CNN said, what a great guy he is. We should try to live just like him. We're going to call regular people Nazis, but don't badmouth a real Nazi. It's kind of like don't badmouth George Soros. You're supposed to get over the fact that he was a collaborator and snitched out his own people. Talk about racism. He was racist. Like, he was, I guess, a Zion phobic, but not really, because we all know that certain rich families got to go wherever they wanted to go, all over there. It was just certain people that got picked out to get robbed for whatever reason they were picking. Anyway, Texas GOP, according to CNN. Remember, CNN is the head in facts. You got to believe the Communist News Network. They have all the facts. It is pretty much today's version of the Ministry of Truth. And I keep seeing a lot of you guys talking about Soylent Green, and I bring it up a lot. And just keep in mind, Soylent Green, I believe, is set in the year 2022. And Johnny Mnemonic, the movie where they're putting microchips in people's heads to absorb programs and data, that's set in 2021. I believe I think it's 2022 also in January because I recently was watching it and it happened to be the date I was watching it on. Talk about irony. Anyway, CNN says Texas GOP Allen West falsely says Texas could secede from the U.S. We go back to bring our own republic, or being our own republic, excuse me. Anyway, CNN goes through here saying that he misunderstood one paper for another, but completely skips over the fact that even the other paper is talking about secession, and we all know Texas could, indeed, if they wanted to, regardless of any paperwork or filings of previous governments, could just say fuck you and make their own country. They have the biggest GDP in the U.S., so they can totally feed themselves, power themselves, And they really don't need the rest of America. That's the truth. But you think the federal government's going to allow that to happen? Of course not. That would be real civil war right there. Speaking of war, though, Russia warns full-scale war in eastern Ukraine. Everybody's, like I said, for the last few broadcasts, pissing contests, shaking their dick right now. But, there may be a little more to it because we're coming into that age of population reduction, population plateau, population replacement, all of the terms above that I just said, or however I say that, whatever. All three of those terms are happening now in a town near you. The buildup of Russian troops on the border, escalating rhetoric threatens to derail effort to reach peace settlement. I don't know why that these people at these news agencies think that we forgot that actual neo-Nazis were the ones that overturned the Ukrainian government, and those are the ones that don't like Russians. And they have a lot of ties to people like George Soros and the current administration of the United States. If I got that out right. We all know it's true. That's why they keep saying Russia, 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 Russia did this, Russia did that. Well, Russia's like us, and they got all kinds of stuff going on over there. And they also have a nifty amount of nuclear warheads and other weapons that rival the United States, even though we've supposedly upgraded. If you've been watching their air and, I guess space or air and navy space shows over there in Russia, you'll realize that they've upgraded as well. All right. Turkey says U.S. warships to deploy to the Black Sea until May 4th. And remember, that country, Turkey, that flip-flops on whether or not they're an ally to the United States. This is the area in which it's classically known as the Shatter Belt. And need I remind you that the Crimea and the Ukraine for the last 300, 400, 600 years has been associated with Russia, and part of Russia, it's like saying, if Brooklyn broke off and then all of a sudden the United States are Nazis for invading Brooklyn. No, that's retarded. Anyway, violence has recently flared up between Ukrainian troops and Russian-backed separatists in the Ukraine's Donbass region. Germany has asked Russia to pull back its troops while Moscow has accused Kiev of provocations. Now, I don't need to tell you that this sounds a lot like World War I and how World War I and World War II started, because you guys are smart, educated people and you know your history. Russia, Ukraine, days from war as Vladimir Putin puts 100,000 troops on the border. Putin ain't fucking around. Putin likes Russians. That's one thing I can say about him. He seems to actually be like, how Trump was saying he put America first, even though he didn't really, but he was pretending he did. This guy seems to actually put Russians first, and he don't care what that means. And he said it before. He'll run a communist country. He'll run a capitalist country. He'll run whatever country the Russians want him to run, but he looks out for the Russians. Isn't it weird how they make sure that we never ally with Russians? I mean, you probably should dig into the past and find out what it is, why Prussians and Slavic peoples are such bad guys in the eyes of the Western world, in the, Anglo-Saxon, Israeli banking cartel, if you want to call it that. China issues new threats to Taiwan. Your military won't even stand a chance. And it wouldn't. And that's why we had a whole fleet there since the 50s. But Obama pulled that out. And, people are playing, what's that game? Strategy or World at War or whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. The board game where they blow up everything. And you dominate and you take over. I think it's time to look in the chat room and figure out what this story. Oh yeah, DMX. I've been bringing this up. So supposedly TMX and normal media keeps pushing the narrative that he OD'd, which he's had problems in the past with drugs, but we'll get to it in a minute. Seems like there's some rumors he might have had some other kind of injections recently, right before he got hospitalized. But we'll get back to that. Let me go look in the chat and see what's going on. If I could find my mouse. Joanne. Yeah, Risk. That's it. Jeez. Alex Fox, what's up? Yeah, I couldn't remember that name. Roder. Canon? I always risk butchering someone's name when I read it in the chat, so forgive me. Anyway, I was gonna do something here, because I have to go pee. Unfortunately, I peed a lot, but now I have to pee again. I didn't plan for this. I'm sorry. I apologize to my audience. And you know what? You guys can listen to a song while I go take care of my business.
Greed. 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 Greed for life. Greed. Greed for love. Greed. Greed for money. Greed. Greed for life. Greed for love. Greed for money. Greed for love. Greed for life. Greed for love. Greed. Greed for money, for love, for money. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, greed. Greed for money, for love, for money. Greed for money. Greed for love. Greed for life. Greed is right. Greed is good. Greed works. Greed for money, for love, for money. Greed for money, for love, for money. Greed for money, for love, for money. Point is, ladies and gentlemen, greed. Greed works. Greed is good. Greed is right. Greed for money, for love, for money. Greed for money, for love, for money. Greed for love. Greed for life. Greed for money. Greed for love. Greed for life. Greed is good for money, for love, for life. Greed is good for money, for love, for life. Greed is good for money, for love, for life. Greed for money, for love, for money. Greed for money, for love, for money. Greed works. Money for love, for life. Money is good for money, for love, for life. Greed works. Money for love, for life. Money for love, for money. Greed is good for money, for love, for life. Greed for money, for love, for money. Greed for money, for love, for money. Greed for money, for love, for money. Greed works. Money for love, for life. You mark my words. Point is, ladies and gentlemen, greed. Greed is good for money, for love, for life. Greed works. Money for love, for life. You mark my words. Greed works. Money for love, for life. You mark my words. Greed for money, for love, money. Greed works. Greed for money, for love, money. Greed for money, for love, money. Greed works. Money for love, money. Greed is money for love, money. Greed is right. Money for love, money. Greed works. Money for love, money. Greed is right. Money for love, money. Greed, knowledge. Greed, money. Greed for love. Greed for life. Greed. Greed.
Yeah, if you're a Wall Street banker. That was I cut that out of what was it, Wall Street? Yeah, it was Wall Street. But that's how they think. They want to acquire the knowledge and the money and the gold. Because who has the gold makes the rules or something like that. It might be the golden rule, or at least the one that you're forced to live under. It seems like greed does win. It makes you wonder if that old saying and that old adage that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Let's hope that's not actually true, but it does kind of make sense. That's why the most evil men run everything. But I think there might be another reason. The reason evil men are in every position of power is because power never crosses a righteous man's mind. Whoa, how about that? Let's get back to the news. Where was I? Oh, I think I was here. Somewhere. Was it here? I think so. Nope. Yep. What's going on, man? Things are malfunctioning. No, here it is. Let's skip over here. Anyway, DMX dead at 50, like I was saying. But there seems to be a rumor going around from one of his close compadres. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, Spotify has now deleted 42 episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience. So it seems like, even though Joe Rogan got paid millions of dollars, it seems like the corporate greed interests seem to be more about his face than his substance. And it seems that your experience is going to be less than advertised, because all of the real experience that goes across his show seems to be getting deleted. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because you live in a bizarre world where people put neural links and play video games. This is you. This is you on drugs. Not the good kind of drugs, but the electronic AI kind of drugs. And remember, Elon Musk wants to save you from the evil AI. Right there. He wants to save you and your family from the evil AI. And how's he going to do that? Well, like a monkey, they're going to feed you a tube full of treats where whenever you think the right thoughts and you do the right actions and you lick the right boots, well, you get a treat in a tube, in an injection tube, because we're in a plateau of population. More and more, and I noticed that even though no one's debating whether or not the Navy is the one actually, putting out these films of astonishing new pyramid UFOs, but I am going to give you my honest opinion about these videos that you're looking at right here. Yes, it does look triangular in shape. However, I've seen that same kind of artifact when there's some crap on my Nikon and I'm trying to zoom into stuff, and an airplane looks about like that. And I get mad and I obsessively try to clean my lens. But everything else in the picture, it seems, is see, but I see those other artifacts and it reminds me of lens flares, but some of them aren't moving. So maybe there is something to that. But the real trick is not whether or not those are really aliens or not. The UFOs, they're unidentified flying objects swarming above the ship at night, according to the Navy, according to the Star, the Daily Star. So, but no one's kind of arguing this fact. But I told you, you'd see more and more of this. Maybe, just maybe, the aliens are going to come down and save us from World War III and world hunger and, what's that other thing? Oh, yeah, disease, because we got all these diseases going around. Or maybe, that's all bullshit and it's meant to fucking further segregate you from being a human, basically. And, if that's not enough reason, worrying about aliens landing at any moment or the government disclosing those here in a month or so, cops are using facial recognition technology more than previously revealed. But, not really, because like 4 years ago, I was, telling you that it's a lie that they don't look as much as they do look. They look. They look at everything. They look at all CCTV cameras. They have AIs in there just looking for people, listening to stuff. You ever wonder why you get funky ads on your computer right after you mentioned to someone else in the household that you want to do this or you need to do that, or maybe you went to a store and you talked about it and then all of a sudden your ads on your phone are blowing up, or YouTube videos are popping up based on something you haven't even searched on the internet for, but for some reason, coincidentally, they show up. Well, that's because it's a two-way street. You input, and they record all of it. Your facial recognition, where you were, where you thought you were going, all of your patterns are actually in a big file. But they're still making you think, like, oh, well, they're just being bad and they only use it sometimes. We're going to forget that Edward Snowden and the whole WikiLeaks, Julian Assange thing happened, and pretend like we don't know that the NSA and several other agencies are constantly spying on Americans without any oversight or any warrants or any reason or rhyme. They just look because they're the overlords of your lives. Who do they work for? I don't know. It looks like, in my opinion, they work for a central bank. But, I ain't no scientist. I'm just saying. And, everybody tells you that this is a myth, too. There's no human trafficking going on from border to border and within the border. These truckers are accused of kidnapping women in New Jersey, driving up and down the I-95 highway I've drove a lot on, around in the D.C., going from Jersey to New York, down into the Virginia there. But basically, they were driving back and forth all the way to Georgia, looking for victims. They were looking for love in all the right places, and evidently they picked them up and took them home. And now you got to wonder how many people have gone through these little weirdos, these weird fucks' hands, if indeed they're guilty, because it's allegedly. But, pay attention to this. Don't worry about the massive amounts of children getting passed back and forth at the border. Don't worry about it. Just in, ABC News reportedly has chosen a new president, Kimberly Godwin. No relation at all. So yeah, ain't that cool? I had no other reason to open this article other than I saw my name. So there, I'm weird. What do you think about it? Let's look in the chat. Who is the pilot of that UFO? He probably works for Space Force, Perry. Who on first? No, who's on second? Home Skillet. I cover my cam with tape. Do you cover your entire TV, Sunshine? Because the entire LED or plasma TV, whichever kind you have, is actually a big camera. And even Samsung admits that you better not talk about or do stuff in front of that television that you don't want shared with third parties. What are those third parties? Well, probably law enforcement, intelligence agencies, ad agencies. Yeah, right. Space Force. Oh, shit. You don't plug in? Well, you're probably on a list of concerning people because you don't plug in. It's like on the, what's that movie? They Live, right? Everybody notices the people that are different. You ain't got a mask on. You don't have a cell phone in your hand. You're out of place already. Which, by the way, let's bring that up. Most of you in this weird, brave new world are going to have to learn how to camouflage. And that means going against some of your, personalities. So if you want to really get somewhere and go somewhere, you may have to mask up and hold a cell phone in your hand while you're just looking around or doing whatever. But realize that the zombies notice the regular people. Just so you know. It's just a point. Anyway. Weird eyeball creatures? I don't think it really looks like an eyeball, per se. It looks like a nasty condom. I thought it's got some nasty shit in it. I don't know what the hell it is. But it's a creature from the great unknown. Right here. Washing up on Texas beaches. Jennifer Baltazar was walking on the beach with her son when they began to feel a stinging sensation on his foot. Now, how you would miss this thing in the rocks, I don't know, but whatever. According to Misa.com, the two of them retraced their steps to find what they stepped in and discovered a strange creature that looked almost like a nasty condom that washed up on the beach. Actually, it says eyeball. It says eyeball. I'm sorry, I'm making stuff up. It's fake news. It's not a condom, it's an eyeball. Anyway, according to them, after taking pictures of the gelatinous jelly-like blob which had washed ashore, Mustang Island State Park Baltazar reportedly sent the photos to Jace Tunnel of the University of Texas Marine Science Institute. And I guess they got their, all happies. And he said he'd never seen nothing like that. Or she said it. Somebody said it. And it's the spaghetti monster. The spaghetti monster. I thought that was supposed to be your brain and nervous system, not just mysterious life forms that wash up. So they're just calling everything a spaghetti monster nowadays. I guess you don't even have to have criteria to be a spaghetti monster. Oh, yeah. I've been watching this whole thing, right? So I don't know if you guys have been watching it. You might have your opinion. But basically, from what I watched, this guy is the local medical, and he had his shit together, man. He was like, I'd never seen a more prepared witness that was confident that what he was saying was the shit. And according to him, George Floyd might have died that night anyway with the amount of drugs he had in his system and his completely I don't even know the right words to describe it, but basically his arteries and everything were all completely crusted with cholesterol, hard cholesterol. So he had like a 90% reduction in oxygen in one of his main valves and like 75% in another one. He was on meth. So basically what the medical examiner was trying to get at is that, true, if he wouldn't have came in contact with the cops, he probably would have just died peacefully later at his home due to an overdose. And lack of oxygen. But since they stressed them out earlier in the day and didn't actually put their knee on the part of the neck that would choke or asphyxiate anyone, but the stress itself from the situation caused him to, start pumping his heart with adrenaline, with all the drugs, and his heart stopped. Brain quit. And then his lungs stopped, and he was dead. And that's what happened. But because they want a new police force, a new civilian militarized police force, like Obama said. If you remember, Obama said he wanted that. Well, you remember Mr. Biden was the vice president, and he was on board with that, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're even trying to replace, one could go ahead and argue a corrupt police state system with another authoritarian, weird police state system where we're letting Antifa-type cartoon characters run everything. Yeah, wrap your head around that. But while you're doing that, aliens. Did I tell you about aliens? We'll get to that, but this is different microbes here. These bizarre underground microbes haven't evolved for 175 million years. A bacterium that dwells deep underground, living off of chemical reactions triggered by radioactive decay, has been doing so unchanged for millions of years. A new research has found, according to them. All right, let's get into this because I thought this was pretty cool. Because if indeed that's the truth, that means that there's things that haven't changed at all, which must, beg the question or offer the question up for any logical person. Why did everything else evolve so fucking crazy and go out on all of these tangents of different forms of life form? I don't know. Let's read the article. A genetic analysis of the microbe of the species Candida, whatever that is, dissolva. Wow, who names these things? Come on, I'm just going to go with the abbreviated CDA. Collected from 3 different continents, has revealed that the bacterium has barely evolved since they were last together on the same landmass. Pangea or Panageia or, I don't know, your panties are loose or something like that. Anyway. So, why is it that everything else changed? A single species ecosystem. That's something that most people said it's not really, possible. But anyway, CDA is peculiar little organism. It was first discovered in 2008, living 2.8 kilometers below the Earth's surface in a groundwater of gold mine in South Africa. Moreover, it's composed 99.9% of the microorganism in the place it was found. So basically, almost everything was the same kind of species. Maybe there was different ones at one time. I'm already thinking in my head, and these little bastards outmaneuvered them or outpopulated them or ate them or something. Anyway, this is, as you can imagine, pretty rare. The tiny microbes live in a water-filled cavities in the rock, relying on chemosynthesis for food. Unlike photosynthesis, excuse me, unlike photosynthesis, if I can say it, which relies on sunlight for the conversion of sunlight into energy. Chemosynthesis organisms derive their energy from chemical reactions in the earth, which makes you wonder, how low do they go? This actually puts a lot of stuff on its head, really, in the scientific world. In the case of CDA, it's a decomposition of water molecules due to the ionization radiation generated by the radioactive decay of uranium, potassium, and thorium. Therefore, unlike the majority of life on Earth, the bacterium doesn't rely on either sunlight or other organisms for its survival. It can just keep on keeping on down there in the soggy dark. So, why did I bring this up? Because, what they described there is probably typical for any rocky world throughout the universe. Like in every solar system that has a small rocky world and has a water content, most likely down there is, some kind of critter. It makes you think that most likely, even if we go over to Mars and they tap into the subsurface aquifer, they're going to find microorganisms. Ones that can survive on chemosynthesis or chemical synthesis of stuff in the water and the rock and the radioactive decay. So that's cool. But I'm going to bring it back up. We'll circle back. Is that not alien, or does that not at least lend some credence to the idea that there may be just life literally everywhere? And then the next question, I'm sure you've been seeing the explosive eruption of the Caribbean St. Vincent for the last couple days. We kind of pointed that out Thursday night on the Mini Ice Age Conversations, that it was about to blow up, and indeed it did. The weird thing that I'm wondering, because I like to put articles together, is deep within the earth, and I know this is hot, but there are things called extremophiles that can live in pockets of not too extreme heat or whatever. What kind of bacterias or microorganisms are spit up into the atmosphere every time one of these volcanoes pops its top, and a little bit of that layer down there where all kinds of different organisms live in their specific places just throws up in the atmosphere? I'm just saying, is that possible? Is that where new strains of shit sometimes just, boom, comes out of the earth? Or, like some scientists think, kind of a panspermia idea where it just literally falls from space. Space is fluid. It's not really empty. There's gases and particles and dust and all kinds of shit out there. Moistures, different compounds, all kinds of shit out there. So why wouldn't microbacteria and microorganisms be able to live in space? And why wouldn't they be able to live in the middle of the ice, which we know it does? They do. They do. Glaciers all over Antarctica are in trouble because you keep driving your car and those cows is a farting. Or there's some geologic activity on part of this island and some other contributing factors that were going to make these ice sheets melt anyway. I mean, it was steadily going to happen for a long time until another event that starts dumping lots of snow that never gets to melt back in the area, then it's going to disappear. It just, just like erosion, kind of. But anyway, they're trying to scare the shit out of you, saying that encroaching warm waters are going to, make the doomsday glacier break off and kill everyone in the world. Everyone. Because you won't stop eating meat. And here's a mindfuck for you. It goes against everything I would advise, and probably other people you watch would advise too, is reverse migration, moving to cities while others flee it. I'm going to go ahead and just, in my opinion, without even considering any of the information on here, just call this a sharticle. Anyway, we'll give it a chance and read a little bit of it. Kelly, Shoal. Hey, what's with these weird names? What Was it Balthazar was the last one, and Shoal now? Anyway, and Alex White spent years trying to get out of their house in York, Pennsylvania, only to be told repeatedly by the real estate brokers that their only option was to sell at a loss. But when the blah blah, the corona hit, it upended the market, and they were able not just to sell their home, they could make $30,000 in the process. Now they want to move and be cool in the city. For $132,000, they're going to go buy a little box next to a bunch of people. Yeah, that's a article. Definitely for that one. That's. Anyway, let's back to the real world. Denver's bar max requires proof of COVID vaccination so you could go inside. This is where everyone's going to. Let's watch this and trip out on these people in Colorado, of all places.
As more people get vaccinated, some businesses and events are requiring people to prove it before they can enter.
That is the case at one bar in Denver. The owner says if he can reopen and ensure safety, why wouldn't he? Andrea Flores spoke to that owner today, joins us tonight. And Andrea, while he's one of the first in Denver to make this move, he is probably not going to be the last.
Universities and even cruise lines are some of the establishments that are now asking people to be fully vaccinated before they sign up. Bar Max off of Colfax and Josephine is the only bar in Denver asking you to not only prove you're 21, but to provide proof of vaccination.
We have been more closed than open.
Bar Max in Denver is now open after being closed for much of the pandemic. Patrons can enjoy a cocktail inside only if they provide proof of vaccination.
We are not refusing service to anyone. We still have takeout options. We still have a patio. What we are saying is to sit down, come in and sit down and enjoy a cocktail. We're asking that you be vaccinated.
Owner Marshall Smith reopened the bar last Friday once he was fully vaccinated.
Now being in a position where I don't have to decide, am I risking someone getting sick and possibly dying in order to pay my bills? That's a huge relief.
Sarah Grossman says the rule is not only a relief for customers, but for employees as well.
It's absolutely some peace of mind.
She handles marketing for Bar Max and has been dealing with some backlash.
Those who have commented on the bar's review sites also have never been into the bar. So we kind of are taking that with a very large grain of salt and suggesting that they go elsewhere.
While the policy has been controversial, the owner says his intention is to keep the community safe.
I'm not an essential service. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, don't come.
For now, Bar Max is only open on Fridays and Saturdays, and they did want to mention they are still following all of the city and Denver indoor dining protocols, including wearing a mask and
I could guarantee you 100% that that's not a place I would ever go. Now, I don't drink myself, but if I did, you could bet your ass I would never go to that fucking bar, and I would make fun of any friend of mine that even tried to go to that thing. And, at some point, every single person has to realize that we're not talking about passports for diseases. We're talking about passports for freedom. Or the appearance of freedom. So you get to jerk off like the rest of civilization if you jump through the hoops. And if you don't believe me, that, not only do we have a president that said that the Constitution is not absolute, which now I've seen morons on Twitter repeating this idiotic saying, but reality reflects that they're right. And I've been saying that for years, that our government was couped a long time ago, and they never did respect the Constitution, and it's not really going well for freedom lovers now. And I'll show you an example of that right here. The National Park Service. No, and get this, another point I want to make, that, well, except for the dog barking. Hold on one second. Anyway, yeah. So you notice that they always call it the 4th of July when they want to party. When they want you to party and have barbecues and not think about nothing, they called it the 4th of July. But when they don't want you to celebrate it and they don't want you to go outside, they call it Independence Day, finally. Hold on, I have a situation, it seems like. Let's see here. I set up something for it. Yeah, you guys could trip on this for a second.
One issue that really grabbed me as urgent were issues related to population.
In 1998, Dr. Zabin became the founding director of the Bill and Melinda Gates Institute for Population Control.
Dr. Zabin became the founding director of the Bill and Melinda Gates Institute for Population Control.
We see a lot of things that are going very well, things like reducing childhood death and First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The problem is that the population is growing the fastest where people are less able to deal with it. So it's in the very poorest places that you're going to have a tripling in population by 2050. And so their ability to feed, educate, provide jobs, stability, protect the environment in those locations mean they're faced with an almost impossible problem. Here we can see a chart that looks at the total world population over the last several hundred years. And at first glance, this is a bit scary. We go from less than 1 billion in 1800, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.4 billion where we are today is happening even faster. So Melinda and I wondered whether providing new medicines and keeping children alive, would that create more of a population problem?
And what the developing world does not need is more children.
And I think that was the biggest aha to Bill and me when we got into this work, is we asked ourselves, of course, the same hard-nosed question you'd ask, which is, if you get into this work and you start to save these children, will women just keep overpopulating the world? And thank goodness the converse is absolutely true.
This is a very important question to get right, because it was absolutely key for me. When our foundation first started up, it was focused on reproductive health. That was the main thing we did, because I thought, population growth in poor countries is the biggest problem they face. You've got to help mothers who want to limit family size have the tools and education to do that. And that's the only thing that really counts. Is spending $1 million on that last 3 months of life for that patient, would it be better not to lay off those 10 teachers and to make that trade-off in medical costs? But that's called the death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion.
But that's called the death panel. And you're not supposed to have that discussion.
Behind closed doors on this New York campus, a secret gathering of some of the world's most powerful people. Gates, Buffett, Bloomberg, Winfrey. It was like the Super Friends. Together with others at the meeting, including George Soros, Ted Turner, David Rockefeller, they're worth more than $125 billion.
That much money, that much power around one table. It begs the question, what were they doing? What were they scheming? Total world domination?
This group, together for 6 hours, was talking about charity, education, emergency relief, global health, the new Superman and Wonder Woman, the super rich friends, not fighting bad guys, but fighting for good nonetheless.
Apparently, one of the things they discussed was what each of them knows about what really works and what doesn't work, so they can concentrate their resources.
An epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths. Today, the greatest risk of global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look.
Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero.
Now, malaria is, of course, transmitted by mosquitoes. I brought some here so you could experience this. We'll let those roam around the auditorium a little bit. There. There's no reason only poor people should have the experience.
But did you come to reproductive issues as an intellectual?
When I was growing up, my parents were always involved in various volunteer things. My dad was head of Planned Parenthood, and it was very controversial to be involved with that.
My dad was head of Planned Parenthood.
The ultimate solution, the only thing that really lets us go back completely to normal and feel good about sitting in a stadium with lots of other people, is to create a vaccine and not just take care of our country, but take that vaccine out to the global population.
Take that vaccine out to the global population.
We clearly need a vaccine that works in the upper age range because they're most at risk of that. And doing that so that you amp it up so it works in older people and yet you don't have side effects. You know, if we have, 1 in 10,000 side effects, that's, way more, 700,000, people who will suffer from that.
Way more, 700,000, people who will suffer from that.
The side effects for the Moderna vaccine sound concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect, ranging from severe chills to fevers. So, are these vaccines safe?
Well, the FDA, not being pressured, will look hard at that. The FDA is the gold standard of regulators, and their current guidance on this, if they stick with that, is very, very appropriate. And the side effects were not super severe. That is, it didn't cause permanent health problems for the things there. Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose, and so to get the antibodies. Some of the other vaccines are able to go with lower doses to get responses that are pretty high, including the J&J and the Pfizer. And so there's a lot of characteristics of these vaccines. It's great that we have multiple of them that are
Bill,
going out there. And yes, I think
you know the data
US
better than I do.
government-
But the Bill, the data showed that everybody with a high dose had a side effect.
Yeah, but some of that is not dramatic, where it's just super painful. But yes, we need to make sure there's not severe side effects. The FDA, I think, will do a good job of that, despite the pressure. But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. People don't feel like going to the stadium when they might get infected.
But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice.
What else are we not listening to that we need to take action on now?
Well, the idea of a bioterrorist attack is kind of the nightmare scenario, because they're a pathogen with a high death rate would be picked. Now, the good news is, I'm not trying to depress you, it's tough enough
Too late.
right now.
Too late.
Most of the work we're going to do to be ready for pandemic 2, I call this pandemic 1,
Most of the work we'll do to be ready for that are also the things we need to do to minimize the threat of bioterrorism.
The economy is not going to be anything like it was. It's going to take a long time to recover. It's going to be, people are going to be surprised at how slow and how fitful this is.
It's going to take a long time to recover. It's going to be, people are going to be surprised at how slow and how fitful this is.
No, don't worry about it. It'll be slow and forever. And, Bill Gates was just joking around. Don't listen to him. Listen to me. Wear your mask. Get your shot. Do it. Do it now. It's the right thing to do for Independence Day that you're not going to have. That's funny how they call it Independence Day now. But anyway, check this out. This is how you deal with these... what's a word for the people that do this? We already have a name for that, and I can't really say it too much. But, they kind of rose to the power in 30s, and then, I think you know what I'm talking about. But they've had this style of government before. But let's check this out.
Yeah, so there's been an injunction filed. So I would really highly suggest that you read that sign in full.
We're here to talk to you.
No, and I'm here to talk to you too.
That's
okay?
fine, but
no, but see, you can't prey on weak people, okay?
No.
And I'm not one of those people. So listen here. No, you listen to me.
Okay, listen.
There is an unlawful order here. So then leave. You're trespassing. Leave before I phone the police.
Do you own the police?
I'll phone the police. You're trespassing.
They have a liquor license.
You're trespassing.
They have a liquor
You're not
license.
welcome
They're
here.
obligated to
But you're not
pass
welcome
the
here.
inspection.
Get out! You're not welcome here. Get out! Just get
Get out of the restaurant. You've been asked to leave.
Excuse me, you're trespassing.
Get out of here! Get out!
Yeah, you are. There's
Oh, Tyler, show him the door. Show him the door.
Can you have a
Show him the door. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Get out of the building. Get out of the building. Get out.
outside, please?
Get out of the building. Bye-bye.
Outside, please.
Bye-bye.
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 You are not welcome here.
Get out. You're trespassing. Get out of the building. Bye-bye. Freedom! Freedom! Woo! Get out! Go away!
Now, wasn't that patriotic? But you know what? Sorry for you Americans. This was Canada. That was Canadians doing that. Doesn't that make you feel embarrassed, Americans? Anyway, let's go over here. Sneaky new bacteria on the ISS could build a future on Mars. Remember I was telling you about the little critters that live all over the International Space Station. And I kept telling people this, and they kind of sound surprised because it sounded far-fetched for so long that somehow, and they don't really explain how, but there are plankton and tardigrades and all kinds of stuff like that up on the outside of the International Space Station. And how they got there, they really can't explain. But there's more than that. There's new... And I want to show you what they say here, like it's no big deal. NASA tracks the microbes that live on the space station, and sometimes it discovers new ones. That's right. Ones not on Earth, or ones that they've never found before, at least. Those hardy bugs may offer clues about surviving long missions. Let's go over here for some more science fiction news. In mid-March, NASA researchers announced that they'd found an unknown life form hiding aboard the International Space Station, and they were cool with that. No big deal. In fact, for an organization known for sophisticated public communication strategy, in other words, never a straight answer, Mars rover don't write their own tweets. It's what I'm saying. Everyone was pretty quiet about the discovery. So think about it. If it's on the ISS, it's most likely on anything we landed on Mars. So either A, there are lots of microbes in space, or B, we probably just colonized Mars already, or maybe back in the 70s if they actually went there. So if you agree that they went out into space, then they most likely have already started terraforming by proxy of bringing microbes to another place, which probably has its own microbes. I'm just saying, back to the A. But you see right there what they're saying. It's true that new life wasn't, say, a xenomorph alien with acid for blood. It was a novel species of bacteria unknown on Earth, but whose genes identified it as coming from a familiar terrestrial genus called, whatever that big long word is there, Methylobacterium, I think. I don't know. Typically, its members like to hang out around plant roots, not on the walls of space stations. Think about that. So this is kind of like the bacteria that hangs out around plant roots and around the connections with the fungus and algae and things like that. Pretty trippy. But this isn't the first article that I've read. Like I said, I've read stuff at least 10 years ago about bacteria having not a problem living in space, and that includes probably viruses as well. I'm just saying. I know some viruses get destroyed by UV, but, some don't. So think about that. Woo! Pfizer can't stop Saffrica strain. And the only reason I'm showing this is so that you remember that they're not going to let you off the hook when you think the Rona's over. When you think the Rona's over, it ain't really over. Google accused of allowing advertisers to search for white supremacist keywords on YouTube, including All Lives Matter. Oh my God. All you got to do is add white and supremacist to anything and you can ban it or close it or get rid of it. Watch for everything else that they add to this list of ever-growing things that you can't say, think about, or research, or even look into, which includes history, obviously. So, you're not going to know your history. Well, I'm sure you guys do, but your children and grandchildren, they're just not going to know what the fuck's going on. They're not going to know what happened, where they came from, where they're going, none of it. But they'll have a screen in their face 24 hours a day. Oh, yeah. You remember on Thursday night, David Dubine was joking whenever I was showing him, this is the circle back here, when I was showing him that this volcano was about to explode, and he says, watch, you'll need a COVID passport to get off the island. Or what if you did, or something to that effect. And here you go. Only vaccinated people can be evacuated from island to escape volcano, says Prime Minister. And I know there's always that person that has a problem with this, but let's just go look at the link of it right here. This is YouTube. We'll just go right to the channel. Right here. It is the Party Granda events, for whatever reason, but this is the Ralph Galvanaz. He's the Prime Minister, I guess. And you just listen to this guy.
The Chief Medical Officer would be identifying the persons who are already vaccinated so that we can get them on the ship. You see there's a ship in the harbor. 2 of them there now. Good. And the ships don't have enough personnel at the moment to keep people on the ships, but they have enough personnel to transport persons to these destinations. But Simone Keyser Beach tells me that what she wants to do is the Chief Medical Officer, is that those who are vaccinated, she can get them going there on the vessel, those on the ships, those who to go to particular destinations, if they choose to. This is a voluntary business. And the they would, those who are not yet vaccinated but who would be vaccinated, you wouldn't want to send them immediately after vaccination. You'd want to hold them, keep them for a day or two, because if some persons upon vaccination, they develop an itch, a little wooziness in their head. You know how that is. Some
I just want you to let that sink in. That guy just said that even people that were just vaccinated can't get on to leave because, well, they might have an itch or their head might feel woozy or whatever. And only vaccinated people are going to get on these cruise ships and go to the other islands. So everybody that didn't get vaccinated, you're just going to have to sit there and start breathing rock and learning to live in a volcano. We'll come back and get you later, maybe. I don't know. Here, let's listen to the rest of what he has to say here, where he further explains. You could tell that this fat pig can't even barely get it out of his fucking mouth because he knows what he's saying is bullshit. This is like, well, we want to get the government-friendly, more wealthy people that fell into the do it because we said so people. We're going to let them leave. But everybody else, you're going to have to wait. We're going to have to, we want a COVID test. We can't be bringing COVID over here. Like if a giant volcano bringing down hell on earth is not more dangerous than some virus. But, that's for you to decide, I guess. Or actually, it's not for you to decide, as you heard Bill Gates say. Whoa.
people, so you would like to keep them there, so there's 2 days and so on. So there are some matters which have to be dealt with. And then the ships are doing, there are certain things we have to do with them. But I've spoken to one of the cruise lines leadership this morning, and I must tell you, the way in which people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and in ordinary people and in Grenada and in Dominica, St. Lucia and Antigua,
in more than 40 on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent. After the first volcanic eruption there in more than 40 years, the volcano sent a thick cloud of smoke 20,000 feet into the sky, spewing ash for miles. Cruise ships are evacuating people from the island, but only those vaccinated against COVID. On the Caribbean island of St. Vincent.
Yeah, trippy stuff. But, hey, like I said, go get your vax. Hey, this Florida woman who coughed on a cancer patient, she got 30 days in jail. How about that? You don't live in 1984 world where people can go to jail for coughing. You would have never believed this. I'm just even going to say like a decade ago. Everything that's going on right now, you would have said was bullshit, fantasy, conspiracy theory, or other. It ain't. It's real as shit. This is the world you live in. But did you know Christ is rising? And I don't mean that from a Christian point of view. However, Christ is rising in Brazil. They're building a new giant Christ statue taller than Rio de Janeiro's. Look at this one. Dun dun! Sign of the times. Christ has risen again. Look, no, for real. I'm just saying. Take it how you want it. House inches closer to enacting slavery reparations. That's right. They're going to force people that's never been slaves to pay other people that's never been slaves because the first people never owned slaves and nobody's been alive in those times. But, you know, they're going to take money from some people, give it to the other people. And similar to the New York story about giving illegal migrants $15,000 worth of stimulus bill while the locals get $1,400 federally. It's just another thing to try to split people, piss people off. And the fact that it's obvious on its face that trying to blame a person for their father's sins is obviously wrong. You can't blame someone for something that they didn't take part in and didn't even fucking live then. And you can't barely even judge these fucking people because you have no idea what realities were around at that time. You only got a watered down history of what happened from certain people that were in control of writing history. But now they're doing this. I'm not paying nobody. What are you going to do? Come take my piece of shit trailer and give it to somebody else? Well, good. You know, I might help them move into the shit. But like I said, the Black Lives Matter lady ain't coming down to my neighborhood and buying property. And it ain't because there's any portion or percentage of any certain kind of people. She's just not going to move into a shithole where there's poor people that live there. They don't want to live amongst normal people when you're a rich, elite, social justice warrior. Now, do you? That's why all of Hollywood that talks the most shit and are the same people that brought you all of the racist imagery and ideas for the past 100 years, the same people that wouldn't let people participate in their industry based on skin, the actual racists, the people that are allied with the Democrat Party that is historically proven to be the Ku Klux Klan. It's just, bizarro world, but evidently it ain't new. It's just continuing. So, yeah, the whole idea of pretending that someone owes monies or financial anything or that they're guilty for something that some of their ancestors did is the literal perpetuation of slavery and servitude. But isn't that how they always come after you with the most evil shit, is by claiming it's the exact opposite? Something happened at the Iran nuclear site there. Iran calls Natanz atomic site blackout nuclear terrorism. Yeah, that's right. So you knew that this was going to happen with the administration that's currently in, because you knew that they're buddies with all of the war hawks, all of the neocons, socialists. Yes, that's right. Neocons are the remnants of the Nazi Party. Go ahead and argue with me. That's why George W. and all of them, and Karl Rove, and you can go on and on and on. All of them have connections, just like the prince that just died at 99 years old. They were all part of that game. They were all part of that psyop. They were all part of that murderous page in history. Guess who they're blaming? I mean, just take a wild guess. They're blaming Israel. That's right. Because, we got to have that self-fulfilling prophecy over there in the Middle East. We have to. Or people are going to lose their mind, because people on Earth now realize we have the technology to do other things and that our Earth is all we need to live. And now that everyone knows that, we're a real danger to regular, rich billionaires, just regular old folks with all the wealth and power. We're dangerous because we're going to get cabin fever. And indeed, I think that's what's happening. That's why you see so many murders, so many weird things happening, so much perverse switches of reality. Just like, not being able to drive your own car, but instead being stuck to a Magno Rail. Because in a sense, this is you owning your own Magno Rail car. And a lot of people are talking a lot of trash that it's basically just slow cars in a tunnel with a lot of flashing lights. Look at that. Elon Musk futuristic public transport system blasted as slow cars under flashy lights. And isn't it? Anyway, let's go back here. So, according to this site, someone says that rapper DMX received a different kind of jab before he got sick, and that person says that they know for a fact that he wasn't on drugs. But, you're not supposed to look at stuff like this. It would be curious to know the gematria behind that. Chest pain, paralysis, seizures. Woman details horrific J&J one of those things, side effects from her hospital bed. Who knows if that's real or not real? I don't know. How can you know? I mean, how do you know if things are real or not real? I'm just saying, how do you know? This is fictional. Don't worry about it. Looting and rioting erupts in Minneapolis as police fire tear gas. Officer fatally shot black man at traffic stop just 10 miles from where George Floyd was killed. And actually, when I opened this, it was a different article. It changed on me. So there's that. Nearly 40% of Marines, they decided that they didn't need any new medications, as you can see right there on that headline. Nearly 40% of Marines have declined this medicine, if you want to call it that. Did I mention the Pentagon and their UFOs? They want everybody to know about the UFOs. I think I did. We're entering into some weird stuff. Watch this human smuggler with these certain tattoos that come from a certain place. You don't have to if you don't want to. I've been telling you. I live on the border. If you don't believe it, just go down to the Greyhound station or the bridge and just hang out and watch and make your own opinion about what's going on. CDC director says racism is a serious public health threat. And next, mark my words, this woman will be saying people that don't want to wear masks or take new medicines, it's because they're racist, regardless of what color they are. And it looks like something didn't want to come in no more. Let's see if we can do that again. Yeah, Kissinger warns Washington, accept new multiple global systems or face a pre-World War I geopolitical situation. You know, it's weird that someone else I know has been saying for the past 3 years that we're lining up to exactly the same geopolitical psyop as World War I, which led to World War II. So you can imagine what they have in store for after this 3, if you want to call it that. Las Vegas, first city to become the, to ban more stuff that you can't have. Ornamental grass. In other words, grass that makes a bunch of seeds for birds. A desert city built on a reputation for excess and indulgence wants to become a model for restraint and conservation with a first-in-the-nation policy banning grass that nobody walks on. Yeah, so like I said, like all that shit that feeds birds. Yeah, you didn't want birds in your fucking park, did you? Shit. Exclusive. U.S. considering cash payments to Central America to stem migration. Didn't we do this already? And it didn't help. Actually, they stopped coming when we cut the money off. There's some kind of people that take the money and use it to do the exact opposite of what it said. But like everything, it's always opposite, ain't it? Opposite. Eerie equity calm puts Wall Street on high alert for next spark because it's up there. Everybody's making money. So are they trying to say that it's going to crash? Because you know how everything's backwards. Is it going to crash? Is the dollar going to pop? What are you going to do then? Do you have water? Did I mention these people and how to treat these people that come to your house and your business? And how embarrassing for Americans that it's Canadians setting the example. I thought you guys might want to watch this, though. This is cool. This is funny.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Welcome to Sunday Morning Futures. Who voted for any of this? Packing the Supreme Court, wide open borders, trillions of dollars in new taxes, and so many other radical ideas. Now, actual policy without passing through Congress. Coming up, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan on his trip to the southern border, where Biden's handlers barred him from taking any pictures. How he's pushing back against the administration's radical agenda. Plus, the man who set the record straight on Hunter Biden's laptop, right here with me, after Adam Schiff and John Brennan, among others, misinformed the public by calling it Russia disinformation before the election.
Let me be clear.
And you do know that this is the other side of the propaganda, like the WWE, so you can feel like you're on a team and your team's winning or losing, so that they can pull your heartstrings and make you think, oh, look, there's justice, whatever your version of justice is, and then they'll yank it back away from you because there's only one outcome to a totalitarian government, and that's this weird passport, lockdown, face gag future where you're not allowed to read books or look up information because it's been deemed dangerous by the Ministry of Truth. But anyway, back to the video.
The intelligence community doesn't believe that because there's no intelligence that supports that. And we have shared no intelligence with Chairman Schiff or any other member of Congress that Hunter Biden's laptop is part of some Russian disinformation campaign. It's simply not true.
Former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe is back with me, weighing in on Hunter Biden's book tour as lewd images of the president's son flood the internet. That and foreign policy coming up. Plus, will President Biden apologize for misleading the country about Georgia's new voting laws? Why does he continue to mislead voters by calling it Jim Crow 2.0? Georgia's favorite son, Herschel Walker, is here on what's really in the law and why Major League Baseball and some companies are striking out with the American public by moving the All-Star game from Atlanta. Plus, Herschel's truth about this laptop not being part of any Russian disinformation. 50 intelligence officials signed their name to a note to say it was Russia disinformation. So much so that actually Joe Biden used that as part of the campaign, and he discussed it in the primary during the election. Watch Joe Biden before the election. Here he is.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you
exactly
go?
what.
Anyway, they go on and on and on and on about the laptop, but you know what they don't do? They don't show anything or really tell you what's in it because they don't want you to really look, even from their side. It's a completely top-down propaganda system. These two bozos, and I wouldn't be surprised, really, you'll know that it's really, really far out there in la-la land if they have The Rock run on the Democrat side and then Trump coming back to run again, like the good guy turned bad guy turned good guy thing that they've always done in the wrestling for those of you guys that like that stuff. Anyway, it's all nonsense. In reality, the police state is what they give you either side you pick. Right here. What do they give you? What did both Biden and Trump agree on? They act like they don't like each other and they act like they disagree on stuff, but what they were giving you is the same thing. Operation Warp Speed, mass, lockdowns, food shortages, etc. You think the thing on the border is just, it's been a continual thing since we created NAFTA and our government sided with different cartels over other cartels. And then look at the size of these cartels. I want you guys to listen to this shit, though.
200 cops now. Yeah. Now the shock troops are coming. They have gas masks, so they're getting ready for pepper spray.
Need protection from churches.
200 cops
Communists
now.
and Nazis need to be
church,
protected
200
from
cops.
churches.
Helicopters.
You're on the wrong side. The police.
So we're at close to 200 cops now.
You should be taking the fence down and
Gas
standing
masks,
up for the
visors and stuff. Gas masks
Tell my
for
daughter tonight
gas.
that the police are here to
200
protect her from this
cops
book.
and a
Men
helicopter.
in uniform that she's supposed
40
to trust
vehicles
are
for
here
one
to
church.
protect her from the law.
Now the shock troops are coming.
And that's in Canada too. You know, that's real reminiscent of other things that I've seen before, like, I don't know, Waco or Ruby Ridge, Oklahoma City, things like that. And it's weird that somebody that was involved in all of those things just took over the ATF in the United States. But hey, don't listen to that last thing I told you or look it up yourself, but whatever, you know. So get ready for a trippy ride. A trippy ride is what we're going to have. We're going to take a ride with craziness. Don't worry, the same stuff's happening in America. It's just kind of embarrassing to see Canadians fighting for their freedom a little harder than the supposed land of the free, but you know, that's what we get. That's what we get. Because greed wins. That's who's running things. And believe me, they ain't doing it for money. They print the money. The people in charge, they make the money. They just want you to think you need the money and that you shouldn't be growing food and that you shouldn't be coming up with, problem-solving skills to figure out problems of your life so that you're not dependent on any group or function. It's just you and your mind, and that's what they're scared of. They want you to be greedy. But you know, you can be greedy for knowledge and good things and not be stingy, because you can be greedy and not stingy, but that's not the lesson the government shows you. If it's do as I do and not as I say, or do as I say and not as I do. I think that one's it. Anyway. Yes, that's right. It's frozen. Anyway, finally, there it is. And that's all I got for 420 TV. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time with some other interesting, cool things happening in your neat and nifty world. And don't worry about it. It's totally not a top-down police state authoritarian nightmare that you live in. That's all sci-fi. Watch a movie. Wear your mask. Get your shot. This is 177.6 on your freedom of speech dial as long as it lasts. And we only got a couple hundred people on here, but don't worry. Once we get to the thousands, I'll have to reboot and go somewhere else again and start all over, because there's just something about what I say that's not liked for some reason. I don't know, but peace out.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
have I become? My sweetest friend, everyone I know goes away in the end. And you could have it all, my empire of dirt. I will let you down, I will make you hurt. I wear this crown of thorns upon my wire chair, full of